I have the page up.
Oh, all right. So I always have to remember to put the comments on because I always forget that. Comments. Oh, I just closed them. Yeah, nobody's here, so
Okay.
we're popular. Okay, so everybody, welcome. This is an 85% Garage Geek. I'm a little bit sick, and I am going to be living on these throughout this live stream. So I hope 85% Garage Geek is good enough for you, because that's all you're going to get. And I'm here with Scott at No Solution. And go ahead.
I'm not sure we're live.
It says live 37
Okay,
seconds.
okay. It took me a while. It took it a while for it to come up. Anyway, sorry. Hello. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so we're Sleepy Reader's here. We're of course going over pages 150 to about the halfway mark in Infinite Jest, which is by David Foster Wallace. Now, some recap. No Solution claims that this is his favorite book, and he can't get anybody to read it. So I was foolish enough to take him up on the offer of going over this book. And as I said in my live stream, we've decided to make this a series. So this is the second video in the series of books of intimidation. And so we're going to purposefully seek out books that are daunting and difficult, and we're going to read them together. So this is episode 2. This book will take us 3 episodes. So we'll finish this book in the next live stream. So it's over to you. Welcome, Scott.
Hello. So what do you want to talk about?
Okay, so as an introduction, just to get our myriad of fans to chance to get in here, how many skin mags did you peruse this week?
Did I peruse? Oh, geez, I don't even know how many. I actually brought one in because I thought it was so interesting. This December '68 Playboy.
Oh, that's beautiful. She's like a Christmas tree.
Yeah. It's like a freaking catalog. Look at that thing.
Wow.
And
are there a lot of ads to buy stuff for Christmas or something?
There are a lot of ads, a lot of smokes, a lot of cigarettes, a lot of booze, but just tons and tons of long stories and articles, and almost no nudity. I think this is the oldest one I've actually looked at, in 1968. I got it for the centerfold.
Don't sell that.
Cynthia Myers here. She was in Beyond the Valley of the Dolls.
Oh.
And so I'm looking through the centerfold, and I'm not gonna. I mean, I won't show the nudity, obviously. Let me cover that up. But you go to the centerfold, and there's one nude picture. Where am I? There's one nude picture there, but then the other side, it's just like her going to the library and like going about her life, and
that's charming.
And then, like,
she doesn't go to the library.
Hanging out with her. Oh, jeez, here we go. Hanging out with her friend. And so the grand total of the nudity in the centerfold is that one picture and then the centerfold itself, which I think people don't really know. Like, Playboy, there's barely any nudity in this. It's just a lot of articles, and there's an article by Ernest Hemingway's son, just about memories about him and stuff like that. It's just kind of a lifestyle magazine.
A true gentleman's magazine.
I mean, that's what they're going for. I always wondered, like, the image they tried to perpetuate of the sophisticated Playboy reader, if that was how true that actually was. Like, how many people were really into jazz and their hi-fi systems and and fine literature, or who was just buying it for the few booby pictures there were.
It's an interesting thing. I think you could buy it for both. That would be me. Like, I'd be
right.
So I wanted to wait. Where's the cucumber? So this is a question for Pieface. So did you, in perusing all your skin mags, were you battling the one-eyed monster? That's for Pieface. Don't answer that.
Is that what he's talking about?
that was for Pieface. He sent me an email. Told me I had to ask you that question. No.
Even as a young kid who technically shouldn't have been looking at Playboy, it was never that to me. I don't know. It's too. I guess I need it more dirty to get that to get all worked up. It's much too classy for that.
Yeah, it was the life men aspire to.
Uh,
That's true. Yeah, it makes sense, right? So
that's smart. Yeah, yeah.
even when I'm watching YouTube videos, I'm looking at people's room layouts and everything, and I'm just thinking, oh, I wish I could do that. Yeah, it's kind of the appeal of YouTube to
Right.
get like a window into other people's lives. And I'm kind of digging a couple of the videos that are out where people are including their lives more in the videos. Like Mark Morris is doing that, and
Oh
then
yeah.
there's I think it's his Vinyl Martini. He's sitting on the bed with his wife and going over like everything that they bought for the week, and he's including his wife, and she's showing what she bought. And then they're in their kitchen, and it's pretty neat, right?
Mhm.
I'm kind of digging those lifestyle videos. All right. So we have another comment here, which is the moment I bought Playboy for the articles, I knew I was now a boring adult. No, sophisticated. Sophisticated. No longer the perverted perversions of youth. Sounds saucy. All right. So let's go ahead and get to Infinite Jest. Now, I'm going to just say a couple of caveats, right? So at the beginning of the week, I was at page 280, and the goal was page 500. And I was getting desperate because it took me, like 18 weeks to read up to page 250.
Mhm.
And I had a week to get through 220 pages. And so I got the audio, and I've been following along with the audio, but it's like you said, it's not really cheating. The problem is when I'm reading, I get distracted by my phone. I start thinking and want to pick up my phone, but the audio, it's harder to pause, and so it like forces you to stay on task and keep my eye on the page. And so some people might think it's cheating, but it helped me get to page 500. So I mean, oh wait, we got a bunch of comments. Let's go ahead. Um, I've been really enjoying the fiction. Oh, that was you. Hello, guys, from Steve. Oh, hi, Steve. Is Scott getting drunk today? Like, what do you? Oh, what do you? Do you have whiskey in that?
No, it's gin.
Okay, well, that is alcohol. So, wow, that's interesting.
Well, I was gonna have a Bloody Mary, and I poured one, and the mix I had, I guess, was expired because I took a sip. I was like, "Whoa, no!" And so I dumped it out. Then I was all fired up to have a drink, so I just had a little gin and club soda here.
Yeah, the cartoons are an interesting aspect, and I'm sure that they've published books with just a lot of the cartoons in them. And of course, Shel Silverstein is famous for so many. He wrote songs and very famous songs. Okay, so Pieface is laughing like the Joker, and so I don't know if you want to start with. I think you took notes, and what I did was this time I actually wrote notes on the page just to remind me what happened in that section. Kind of, if I thought it was a
Okay.
memorable section, like. Oh my God, we have to talk about this one. The adoptive stepsister. That was creepy. Okay, so, I mean that whole section was just freaky. Okay, so you go ahead and start, or do you want to do like a
Do you want to go
general?
into that? We can just talk about that if you want to first.
Well, I came across this. So there's a lot of sections where people are at different AA meetings, or not even AA meetings. They could be drug meetings or various addiction meetings, and they get up and they give their speeches, and that happens quite a few times in the book. And they're all you always get like a different insight into like the people who've been there long, and how they have to tolerate the people who are new, and how everybody goes through these stages, and you could pretty much tell right away if someone's going to last or not, but you still just, you never know, you just let them continue. But there was this one section where this girl, this woman gets up, and she starts giving a speech, and everyone thinks it's going to be the most like screwed up speech ever, right? Because of the way she's dressed, the way she looks, and they think, oh, she must have been addicted and these things happen to her and everything. No, she tells this horrifying story of being adopted, and in the family they have a child who can't move. It's almost like catatonic, right? Basically can't move, the paralyzed, everything, right? And there's other sections of the book where they talk about how there are these companies who are because of the companies, these children are being born, right? It's happening widespread. And so she's up there and she starts telling this story how the father of the child would come in at night and diddle her. Like that's the term that they use, diddle. I mean, it's so disturbing. And she's got to sit there and listen to it. And she knows that if she were to tell on him, that then she would become the target instead of the daughter. And so, and that's not the most messed up part. Do you want to continue or do you want to take over? Because I'm talking too long.
The Raquel Welch mask he puts on her.
Yes. And then, no, but that's not even the worst part. The girl, like the father will just leave. He doesn't even care.
Oh, yeah.
He leaves her like all like spread out with her dress up and everything. And the girl has to go over and clean her up. And she's, at one point, she looks at it's a young girl, right, in this state. And she sees a look of intense like satisfaction on her face and the whole thing. And that's what trips her up the most. That's what sends her off into her like drugs and alcohol. It is truly a messed up story in this book.
It's
so disturbing,
so messed up, but it's so like it's so messed up. It circles back around being funny to me. Like it's if it was a little toned down, I think I'd find it more disturbing. But as each detail piled on, I was like, oh my gosh, this is hilarious. So
it's hilarious because it's not real, right?
Right,
So you know
right.
that this isn't real. But as an overall, like if you were thinking like a young child adopted in this situation, and you know having to deal with this every night, it is like truly a disturbing scene. And then like, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. The point I guess that the characters are trying to make by relating her whole story is she's gonna fail because she's using this story as, well, since this happened to me, then I had to go strip, and then I had to go turn tricks, then I had to do drugs, and then accept it. So the AA or any of the 12-step meetings, basically, you're not allowed to say, I did this because this happened to me. You're not allowed to. That's considered a cop out. Like you have to just say, I have a disease and I have no power over it, and I'm coming here to get help. Not to say, well, if it wasn't for this thing, then I wouldn't have got addicted to heroin. You know, so while she's relating this horrible story, rather than kind of feeling bad for her, they're all kind of judging her, like,
she's not gonna last.
Not gonna make it.
Yeah. it's so messed up, right? Because yeah, there's a lot of that. It's like really interesting because they go into the psychology of all these meetings, and you know the to me, like I've never been to one of those, so it's you know they set up this whole hierarchy, and you know how like the scene I just read was like this one guy didn't want to be hugged and the other guy got super pissed at him and he like forced him to hug, but like more like choking him. Like he's like, do you think I want to hug people? This shit makes me throw up, but I'm gonna do it because that's what they tell me I'm gonna do. It's hilarious. And yeah, it's just like all of these different scenes in these type of they're not AA meetings, right? They're like Drugs Anonymous, or I don't know what they're called, but they're the anonymous meetings that they go to.
Yeah, 12-step, I guess you would say. Yeah, a lot of them are AA, but some of them aren't.
So,
I wanted to circle back to, I guess, the beginning of where we left off, because one of my favorite sections of the book, and the section that made me kind of lock in and decide that I love this book, was the section on the video phones. Do you remember that?
No, but if you tell me the page, around the page.
It starts on 144.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you mentioned that I didn't quite make it to the part that you really liked. And when I was reading this part, I was like, why does he like this? I'm like, what the hell? Oh, wait. Because the one right before it is the transvestite who grabs the purse. I love that part.
Yeah.
And later this comes back because there's a scene in it. So let's go to your section on 144. And I mean, look at the type in there. I mean, wait, I can't get it. It's like it's like all caps. I don't know if you can see that. So yeah, explain. I'm gonna put you on big in case you wanna
Okay.
off the book.
I guess what this section kind of illustrates for me is David Foster Wallace's world building to the I mean to an excessive degree, to a degree that doesn't really matter to the main point of the story or the plot or the main emotional points. But he just kind of stops in the middle of the book to do, let's see, one, two, three, four, five, like basically a 6-page explanation of the rise and fall of video telephones.
Yep.
It's been mentioned earlier in the book that there are video telephones, but that basically everyone doesn't use the video part. And he just decides he's going to stop and tell you why. And so it goes through this whole thing of psychologically, when you're on the phone, you know, you can be picking your nose, you can be making notes, you can be watching TV, but still the other person doesn't know you're not paying attention. So there's this kind of illusion that both of you are paying strict attention to the phone call when you're really not. Well, now you're on a video phone and now you can't fake it, which then causes anxiety in people. And then they see their face on the screen. They don't like how their face looks. So then they start using like enhancements to the video to make their face look better. And then that accelerates into masks, and that accelerates into like full body replacements. Eventually it gets so crazy that people just say, they eventually wake up and just say screw it and then don't use the video part anymore. Just that kind of nerdy world building in the middle of a book, and it really has no bearing on anything else in the book. It just really captured my imagination. I was like, all right, I kind of get, I feel like I get who David Foster Wallace is now, and I'm in. Like, I don't care what the digression is. It's all interesting to me, and I'm just going for it. So that's why I liked it so much. I'm sorry if I built it up too much, and he read it and was like, "What? Who cares?"
No,
I don't know. I really
in the top of my book, phone versus video calls, and this section was actually really interesting because I found a lot of parallels to what we went through with COVID when we were all on Zoom.
Okay, yeah.
And it's interesting because, you know, he's trying to predict the future in a way, and then we have the reality. And I was looking at what he got right and what he got wrong, right? Because, you know, with Zoom, you can change your backgrounds. You could even just, if you want to, don't put on the screen, which is what everyone eventually did, right? But what was really interesting that you kind of touched on is that people would put these filters on their face to enhance their looks. But then they wouldn't go outside, because then when people saw them in real life, they'd be like, yeah, I mean, you know, because you portray yourself one way on the screen. And so then we get all these people who become shut-ins because they're afraid to go outside because of the way that they look in reality. Right. And so then some of them go on to have like cosmetic surgery, and they wear these masks, and it just gets all out of control. And so when I was mentioning to you before this, I still have students who wear face masks in class. And it's like this holdover from COVID, where I think it's not because they're afraid of getting sick. I think it's something psychological where, like, young kids are afraid to show their bodies and their faces. And so many of them wear these like sweatshirts to cover up their bodies because they're just not comfortable at this age. And I think anything that allows them to keep that going for longer periods of time, I think that can be damaging psychologically.
Yeah.
Right. And I think we're still dealing with the aftermath of COVID, in that we have students in school who are supposed to be socializing, right? But they're wearing masks, which is a barrier to socialization. Sometimes I have to tell kids who are wearing masks to repeat themselves 3 and 4 times because I just can't understand what they're saying, because of a lot of kids, they don't raise their voice anyway, or don't enunciate and don't speak out. And then with that mask there, you know, anyways. So I also thought that was interesting. That was an interesting section, and it's good insight, because you're right. He does, you know, go off on this tangent that's about 6 pages, and it lets you get this, you know, world building. So yeah, it's a cool section. So let's go ahead and look at some comments. So you two are on your swingle. David is really AI. Listen, if I were AI, I wouldn't look this bad. All right. So let's talk about that transvestite. Did we talk about him in the last one?
There was the section he was in.
Because there's another section, so we kind of should introduce him because I kind of dig this character. So
Poor Tony.
Yeah, and what's his name?
Poor Tony.
Yeah. So in the section before this, there's this woman, and this is the most ridiculous thing. So there's this woman who has an artificial heart, and she walks around with it in the bag. It's like the technology. So instead of it being in her chest, it's in a like a purse, and you just know this is a recipe for disaster. So this transvestite, wants drugs and runs up and grabs the purse, and they're like, this poor lady gives pursuit, and as she's running, like blood is pumping and she's screaming, and they go on to like she miraculously made it 8 blocks before or something like that. And then this guy, like this transvestite, he like hides in a dumpster and he opens it up and like, there's a heart in there or whatever. Like, I can't sell that. But then there's another section in part of this where this character, I forget what it is, but this character is going through so much, like doesn't have enough money for drugs and is going through serious withdrawal and is living in a bathroom in like a Macy's or something, and is just getting skinnier and skinnier and weaker and weaker. And the description of what's happening to also living in a dumpster with rats and like not being strong enough to like fend off the rats, and just the lifestyle of this poor person. It's just like it's quite a brutal section of the book.
Yeah, this is, if you remember the section before, with the 3 drug addicts, the transvestite was one of them. And that's the reason they got the poison dope, was because
that's why
he had screwed over their deal or whatever. So he's burned every bridge basically, and he can't get the drugs anymore. So he's being forced to go through withdrawal, and he's trying to stave it off with like codeine cough syrup, and all it's doing is kind of dragging it out. And yeah, it's horrifying. It's disgusting, and I can't imagine it. I mean, and it ends with him having a seizure on the subway, right? Or the bus.
Oh yeah, that's right. And then I think they actually, like, from the character's point of view, get him to the hospital, but I don't remember if he died or not. But he like gets they're like showing him like the light is going on and off as he's like lying on the like a stretcher to get to the hospital or something.
I think if I remember right, I think he reappears later.
No, okay, so but it could be out of time order.
Right.
Maybe. Right. Yeah, just like this really weird, quirky character, a drug addict transvestite who steals a heart in a bag and then gets poison dope and goes through withdrawal, like agonizingly so, living in a Macy's bathroom and a dumpster. It's like horrible. And of course, he's, like you said, burned every bridge. And he even, like in his desperation, he tries to go to one dealer that might help him. And I forget what the guy does. I think he ends up slapping him or kicking him down or something. But he's a bag of bones at that point.
Yeah.
And then he gets on the subway. We got some comments here. A scene from Dune where the evil Baron rips out a heart plug. Oh, yeah. And then like bathes in the blood as the poor thing is dying. Yeah, that's like such a creepy Baron Harkonnen. Oh no, pie face. This is sad. Okay, you got me because I thought it was real. Like, I'm naive. When you tell me you were homeless for a while as a kid, I kind of believe you. So you shouldn't say those kind of things because I actually believe you. But then when you say something had chewed through your face,
I don't think he's kidding. I think that's real.
A rat chewed through his face?
Laces.
Oh, through his laces. I was like, okay, is this real, Pieface? Because that's really scary. Oh, and No Solution wrote, that's scary, man. So sorry if I laughed because I thought you were joking because when I've seen your face, I mean, it's hideous, but I didn't know that rats chewed through it. No, I'm joking.
Wow. I've never said anything that mean to him, and I'm supposed to be feuding with him.
He's a very handsome guy with very long, luscious hair. No, you didn't. Nobody deserves to be homeless. All right. So, would you like to pick another section?
Sure. Let's see. I wrote down. I feel like I write down too much. There's no way we're gonna get to it. So I'll skip right to the game. I guess how would you pronounce it? Eschaton. The tennis nuclear war game.
Oh yeah, that was funny because I was like, this is going on and on and on, and so they create this whole like video game style tennis game where it's like you're playing what's that game? No, not Stratego. The one where you're all on a map and you take over the countries.
Risk.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of Risk, but like we have computer versions of that now. But these people were like using the tennis balls as like nuclear bombs, and wherever it would land, that's the country you would take over. And it was so crazy. So sorry to jump in, but go ahead.
No, that's okay. This is another example of he did not need to go into so much detail about the computers they're using to calculate what am I looking for? When a nuclear warhead hits something, the
radius, the bomb radius.
Yeah, and he goes into way too much detail about the minutia of the rules, and then he even goes into saying that like nobody can really even understand the rules. There's a whole book and computer program, and there's locked cards in a box, and but I just appreciate that much thought went into it. It's not really the point of the game. The point of the game is trying to show these kids at play, but even when they're at play, it's super competitive just because of the environment they're in, and that frickin' kid Ingersoll, the one that everybody hates, he decides that there becomes a controversy because it starts snowing in real life, and then they start asking, well, if it's snowing on the map, is it snowing in the game? And then no, the map is the map, it's not the real world. And then another guy, this Ingersoll guy, he starts shooting his nuclear weapons at the actual players and saying that counts because it doesn't say it doesn't. It reminds me a lot of playing games with somebody who we call a rules lawyer. Like they'll do something that is completely against the spirit of the game, and everybody knows it, but it doesn't say that you can't do it. So they'd rather just fucking ruin the game than do just to get a win than to actually play it how it's meant. So this whole it devolves into a brawl with a bunch of kids going to the hospital, and kind of the continuing downward path of everything that we're going on.
Yeah, there are so many scenes with tennis and tennis players and minutiae. And I was thinking about how, you have this parallel between the tennis players and the drug addicts. And these kids really do act like drug addicts in so many ways. They're addicted to this game, and they know there's very low chance of success for any of them. But they put themselves through torture on a daily basis just for that one shot, right? And and then you have all these like cantankerous people around the edge, and you get that in the AA meetings, right? You get all the, it's just there are certain parallels here. I'm wondering if that's going to be strengthened because you do have these two worlds, and I still don't know exactly how they're going to come together, but maybe one of the incandenzas is going to have to join that meeting or so. I don't know, but it's I see these kind of parallels in their behavior and their addictions. I think that's kind of one of the main thrusts of it. And when you think about it, sometimes it almost becomes too obvious. Like the tennis academy is on top of the hill, and then below them is the recovery house. The high and the low. Mm-hmm. But that there's a lot of parallels between them. Yeah. Mm. And so I don't know why I was thinking about it, but there was this recent scene where they're talking about the videotape, and since there's a common theme, like throughout this book, those two are still stuck on the mountainside. They're just having these chats. I didn't know they were going to be up there the whole book.
Right.
And They're just like sitting up there chatting. And so there's one guy from the wheelchair assassin, and then there's another guy who's in drag, although he's only forced to it. And every time they mention his feet and how his feet are like crammed into those shoes, and it looks like, and he does it because of a sense of loyalty, but later he's going to lose some of his toenails, and how everything is like crunched in there. And it's a French guy describing him. It's pretty hilarious. But they give us more about that tape, or they call it a cartridge, right? And so there's a scene where each side has a read-only copy of it. They can't find the original, and there are scientists, and they're trying to study it or keep it under wraps. And like one aide goes in, and like he wants to know what it's all about, and so he watches it. And then a scientist goes in there to try to save him, and what they both end up like in the hospital, like being catatonic, and they describe it as losing the will for, I forget what it was, like input or something. It was a description that was kind of neat. But yeah, so like their whole lives are ruined, and they're just like vegetables for the rest of their lives. It's just like this videotape is weird. And so I'm still like, you don't hear from these people for like 100 pages, and then all of a sudden you'll get them in a bunch of rapid succession chapters, one after the other. And so you're wondering how this is all gonna like fit in together. Well, I am. And there was another scene where the wheelchair assassins actually go after a person, and they show how they like surround him, and that was an interesting scene. So I don't know if you have anything to say
in
about that.
the gift shop.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because they think they have the tape, or they've heard they may have the tape. Yeah, this is where I can't really say a lot, because
Yeah, don't ruin it. It's okay.
reading back through it, it almost seems obvious, the tape and what the tape is and all the things around it, but there's no, it's little, it's like sometimes a half a sentence buried in the middle of a 3-page paragraph that you're just going to go right by because it doesn't mean anything to you. But when you read it again, you're like, oh, okay. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, anything, I'm trying to think of any.
I have a quote that I could show with you.
Okay.
Because one of the big themes of this book is consumerism, and how corporations are kind of taking over government, and how that is the driving force for the American economy, maybe even the world economy. And on page 367, there's this little paragraph about Liberty Island's gigantic lady has a son for a crown and holds what looks like a huge photo album under one iron arm, and the other arm holds aloft a product. And so I guess they rent out Lady Liberty now, and she's a gigantic billboard, and they go in and they change, what she's holding in her hand as the product, and what she's, holding in the law book, because it is a law book, right? Doesn't it say something about everyone's equal under the law? I think that's what she's holding in one hand. But anyways, she's holding the torch. So now they change it, and it becomes a product, and companies can rent that out. And there's another scene later where someone who's trying to change that has an injury. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's a kind of funny. It's a very, like, I don't know if you can see it. It's like a really short paragraph in there, but it reinforces that idea of the consumerism that's going on in these characters.
I think if I remember correctly, it's whatever company successfully subsidizes that year, so it gets to name the year, their product goes in on the Statue of Liberty.
Oh wow!
So like, instead of as we know now, renting out the name of a college football bowl game or something, the Quicken Loans whatever bowl, it'd be like the year of Quicken Loans. And you're not allowed to say the number of the year. That is the year.
Yeah, and well, that's there's a parallel in modern life, because every stadium now, they used to have just maybe named after people who founded cities or something. Now they're all named after companies and corporations. Whenever you visit a city, like even here, it's the SoFi Stadium or something.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like they're all named after corporations now, instead of maybe inspirational figures who helped found the city. And I mean, that's of course arguable, but but you know what I mean? Like I see those trends in in our society, even if it's not to the degree of this book.
Right.
The Year of the Big Mac. Uh, yeah, they do mention. I think they do mention McDonald's and the Whopper in a couple of these sections.
Yeah, Year of the Whopper, I think, was the first subsidized year.
Mm.
I made a cheat sheet here somewhere. Yeah, the first. There are 9 subsidized years that are mentioned in the book, and Year of the Whopper is the first one. And most of our action takes place in the 8th year, the Year of Depends.
So I'm looking through on page 219. We have the character of Joelle, and so Joelle was I probably still haven't pieced it together, but she was originally a girlfriend of one of the children,
Yeah,
and they go through all of that, but she ends up becoming a serious addict who tries to commit suicide, and so we've got this arc where we're going back and forth in time, and we see her at different times, and around 200 we have the talk of her trying to commit suicide, and it was an interesting section, and then there was this there was this one line which is on page 220. So there is a scholar at New York University tortured by the neurotic conviction that there are only a finite number of erections possible in the world at any one time, and
yeah.
that his tumescence means, e.g., the detumescence of some perhaps more deserving or tortured third world sorghum farmer or something. I mean, it was a really crazy idea. And he wrote it, and it's like this, side thing that's flipped in there. But it's like a funny idea where someone could be that neurotic and think, I can't get an erection because this guy on the other side of the world will now not be able to get an erection, and he needs it for his life. Or I don't know. It's just like this, and that was in the part of the Joelle section about her
I
suicide.
I feel like I hate to attribute too much of the book to an author's own life because I think that's dangerous, but I feel like he's been to a lot of pseudo intellectual parties, and this was his kind of revenge on that. Just all these people babbling about nonsense and things they've read in books and they're repeating to each other. And yeah, the thing about the finite number of erections. What a horrible place to kill yourself. These vapid, vain people.
Mm. And then there is a good section on page 252 or around there where the I think it's the older brother calls the younger brother, and they're trying to prep for a magazine article that's going to come out, and so there's a reporter that's going to interview him, and I think the older brother wasn't there for the father's funeral, and he calls the younger brother who was there, and he wants to know about it so that there won't be any surprises. And you have the younger brother like finally like opening up and telling him all this stuff, and the older brother is like truly shocked because he didn't know all of these details. It's actually a really great scene.
Which continues in the, what, 20 page footnote later?
Oh, is that the one where I said, like, why are they having the conversation? It's a footnote.
Yeah.
And then there's this like 10-page conversation. And I was like, no, that should have been in the book. It shouldn't have been a footnote. So I was kind of quibbling about that. I'm like, what?
Well, it starts with how the mother tries to contact Oren, the older brother who's moved away, and sends him a very heartfelt note. And then he sends back like a form letter. It's like a form letter from, he plays professional football, so it's a form letter from the team saying, thank you for your interest in fill in name here. And he sends her an autograph picture. So obviously there's some bad feelings between him and the mother. He won't even talk to her, but he's calling his younger brother and then asking questions about what's been happening, what's going on in the family. He's being interviewed for this magazine, and the long footnote goes really deep into the Quebec separatist movement, and he seems very interested in that. And Hal is taking a class on it, so he wants his opinions. There's a lot of plot. If you're into like the plot of the book, there's a lot of plot stuff in there. So it's very odd that it's like stuck in a footnote in the back of the book, but that's just kind of how he structured it.
Oh, so there's a section on page 358 where there's going to be a lot of like around these AA people. They're going to be talking about their dreams, and there's a lot of like there's a person. I found this interesting. There's a person that's always awake at the halfway house in case somebody has a dream or they just can't sleep because it's part of the process. And so they need someone there, not even if they just don't want to talk, just someone there physically to know that they're not alone. And so a lot of them, of course, will get up and talk to them all night. And they will talk about their dreams. And there was this one weird dream where they had to like all be kneeling like as if they were praying, and the moment somebody looked up, and they were surrounded by these glass walls, and in the ceiling there was a hook, and if you dared to look up, the hook would come down and grab you and yank you through the glass, but you would go through as if it was water. And then he kind of looks to the side and he sees that there's someone patrolling around the glass. I mean, now I don't know why I picked this one. They do describe a lot of different dreams that these people are having when they're going through withdrawal, but I kind of like that one. It was very like descriptive and fun, and kind of this sense of paranoia and how you can't escape it.
Right.
Looking at the comments.
Oh, sorry.
USA. Something going on. You guys are talking about some kind of customs.
So our friend Keith from New Zealand, he sent me a package and Simon, but Simon said he had to pay a custom charge for it. I've heard of that, but we don't have that here, so that's why America's the best.
Yeah, the first time I sent a package, I think to Denmark, they said, the person on the other end is going to have to pay money to get this. And it was already expensive on my side. I was like, I didn't know that. And I was just like, well, just send it anyway. And then when I asked, that the person didn't have to. But I guess it could be arbitrary. I don't know. It's so strange.
I've heard I'd heard a story from somebody who's like a record label person who was sending a bunch of records overseas, and he put the actual value. He was sending it to Germany, and then the guy in Germany called him and was like, "What the fuck are you doing?" He's like, "I had to pay hundreds of dollars or hundreds of whatever to get these records because of what you put on there." So you're just basically supposed to put they're not worth anything, and hopefully the other person won't pay.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, this is super small, but it made me laugh. And I didn't make a note when I saw it, and I tried to find it again, and I couldn't. But it's one of the sections where they're talking about their drills and whatnot, and it's all our main characters are the boys, so that's what we're focused on. But they mention in passing the girls like playing on a different court, and the girls are making these high-pitched grunting noises that if they ever could hear themselves, they'd knock it out. They'd knock it off. I was just like, yes. Because whenever my wife watches female tennis, I'm like, why do they make those noises? What is going on? The men don't make those noises.
Wow. Well, he's observant. I've never noticed that. I don't watch tennis, male or female. So, all right. I've got two things. The first one is for our vinyl community friends. This is on page 345. I love the searing descriptions, and they're randomly throughout. So at the bottom of the page, he says, Concord's John L. has a huge hanging gut and just no ass at all. The way some big older guys' asses seem to get sucked into their body and reappear out front as a gut. He has all of these like really searing descriptions of people, and that's quite hilarious. Another thing that I'm thumbing through to find my notes, and on page 307, this is a quibble that I have. So the kids at the college, I think it's a high school, they're basically there for tennis, but they have to maintain the idea that it's an academic institution. So all the teachers are jokes. Now, what I have a quibble about is everyone seems in the beginning of the book to be like studying and preparing for all these exams, and it's like a really tough academic institution. But later we find out that it's a lot of joke, and everyone there seems to be like pretty intelligent.
Okay,
But
so that section, they're talking about the electives that the pro rectors have to teach. So those are the joke classes.
Mm.
These are like the live-in coaches, basically people who were former students that weren't good enough to go pro. So a lot of them end up staying on, and they're actually tennis coaches, but they're, since it's an academic institution, they have to teach a class. So basically, all the older kids try to get into these classes because they're either completely nuts or totally easy. So that's what that section was about. They do
yeah.
have real classes.
Oh, okay. And so they actually put one of the exams that they have to do, and it's hilarious.
Yeah.
So at the very top it says, keep your answers brief and gender neutral. What? Gender neutral? Like you have to write the whole test without mentioning a gender.
Right.
So they set up a 1A and a 1B and a 1C. So you are an individual who is a pathologically kleptomaniacal. So you must steal. But 2, you're also a neurotic who can't leave your home and you don't live with anybody. So basically for part 3, you are pathologically driven to go out and steal, but you are pathologically driven to never ever leave your home. Now, write an answer that is, gender neutral and brief. It's hilarious. Like that exam question was making me laugh. I'm like, how would you answer that?
Well, the guy had the answer. It was mail
I
fraud.
don't remember.
It was mail fraud.
Oh, was that it? Yeah, I don't even remember. Oh yeah, it's in the top line, mail fraud. Okay, that's good. It's pretty funny. But yeah, like those little things on the just they're little asides, kind of, right? Just a couple paragraphs long, and it's just like it really makes you laugh. Let's see. That sounds like me. Which part, Steve? I forgot. The pathological. You can't get out of your home, but you need to steal. Can you steal from yourself? Okay, maybe. So I'm like, so next time we do this, I'm actually gonna write my notes on a paper because I'm just like flipping through the book trying to see my notes. But listen, I'm seriously glad that I actually got to the 500 mark.
Good job. Yeah.
It was so difficult for me, and I was telling Sleepy Reader, like, so we are like, there's something wrong with us because, like, how many hours I spent on this book, and what's the payoff? 1 hour of talk time. It's like I put so many hours into reading this book.
This is not the goal. The goal is to enjoy the book and get something out of it, right?
I'm totally enjoying it. You're right, totally. Right. But throughout the week I'm like, I gotta read this, I gotta get through this.
Right.
Go ahead.
What did you think about found drama?
What is that?
That is when James, the father, when he was making films and the critics were lambasting his films, he came up with the concept of found drama, where they would sit in a room, rip out a piece of the white pages, stick it on the wall, throw a dart at it, and whatever name got hit, that was their movie for the next 90 minutes. Whatever that guy did, that was their movie. They don't know what he did because they didn't film anything. So it was this, like, he's trying to get revenge on the critics by doing this, the most abstract movie that could ever exist, because it doesn't exist. But he got some other academics to kind of go in on it with him and say how amazing this was, and then he was starting to get awesome reviews for these movies that never happened and never existed. I just thought that was cool, like, kind of lambasting the intelligentsia of the film community.
And I remember there was a little bit more to it, because whenever they would pick a real person, like they'd rip out a page of, not paper, but they would rip out a page of the telephone book or something like that.
Yeah.
And then they would throw it at that person's name, and they would make a film about that person. And I don't remember if they actually looked them up online.
But they didn't make it.
Oh, they didn't make it. Okay, so
the film was just a concept. The film was whatever this guy, starting from the moment the dart hit his name, for the next 90 minutes, that was the film.
Oh, and then there was another one.
And they would never know what it was.
Yeah, and there was another one where they they just film everybody walking into a theater thinking they're going to see a pretentious
Yeah.
movie, and they sit down, and then as soon as the lights go down, they start running the film of everybody coming into the theater and like focusing in on them, adjusting themselves, and the movie doesn't end until the last person has walked out.
Right. Right.
I mean, they're funny stuff. Like, and they're trying to be these pretentious art films. It's hilarious. Also, there's the scabby dogs that are in the AA house, and one of the ways that you know that, like, you don't know, but if you actually pet the dogs, whether knowingly or whether you're told to, and you actually do it, you're in. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, doesn't matter. Like, but if you like won't pet those dogs or anything, they won't accept you into the halfway house. Pretty funny. Okay. I'm just kind of like going through my pages right now to see if I have any other notes. Oh wait, there's something really twisted. I forgot to say, like, when he's talking with his brother on the phone, he this is so twist. So he's the one to find his father who killed himself, right? And he killed himself by putting his head in a microwave, and he was able to rig it so that it would stay on, and he basically exploded his head all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And when the brother walked in before he actually got to the kitchen, he's like, "Wow, something smells delicious." And that's like the line that he like saves for the end for his brother, because like that is the twisted kicker, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that like stimulated his appetite before he saw like his poor father. Um Oh, and he was also talking about like being in the therapist's office, and how he got this really weird therapist, but the therapist was really, really good, and he wouldn't accept his bullshit. He saw through it. So he would go to the library and read up on therapy and what's expected, and he would go and act that way, but the guy would always see through it. And he finally, like, he finds a way to beat him, but it's because he actually goes through the process, right? And
Right.
so finally, he's wondering this entire time, like, this he never sees this guy's hands, and it's just so funny. Like, this guy who helped him, and then he's walking away because the guy's hands are like really, really tiny. It's
Mm-hmm.
reminding me of that Saturday Night Live skit. And so, and then all he does is, as he's walking out of the office, like, he's just laughing hysterically at the poor guy. Yeah, it's just crazy stuff in this book.
I guess kind of a plot point. Not that we're really going through the plot, but Joelle, the girl who tried to kill herself at the party, and then she ends up in the halfway house. When we get into her backstory, everyone comments how she's basically the most beautiful girl ever of all time. Oren calls her the P-goat, the prettiest girl of all time.
Mhm.
And now she belongs to what's the group, the hideously deformed, or there's some
who wear the veils and stuff, right?
there's a group that wears veils because they're all deformed, and she wears the veils. So
Mhm.
and there's some mention about acid, like some incident with acid or something. So we don't really know what happened, but she wears a veil now. So
All right, we have to pause for a second because, Donald, I've read 500 pages of this book and I still don't know what it's about. So it's basically, there's a family and they're totally into tennis, and they've been like through all these like crazy, ordeal and instances. And then there's this halfway house down the hill. And it's all about the people who go in and out of that halfway house. And then there's this thing that ties them together, which is this like weird videotape where if you watch it, you basically die, or you like lose your brain. And so you got this secret organization trying to find that tape. And there's some connection with the father who made videotapes. So maybe that's where the original source is, I'm guessing. And then you got this halfway house, the people. And so, like, still I'm discovering what puts everything together. Like you, Scott, you said that Madame Psychosis is an important character in this book, but she hasn't really been mentioned in.
Oh, okay. You might have missed it. Joelle is Madame Psychosis.
Oh no, I did not know that. So you spoiled it. So
No, it's been revealed, but it was like kind of in passing.
Oh, okay. So, well, that's good. So now I see the connection. So there was just one section about her and how she runs her channel, and that was pretty interesting, and how everyone's smitten with what she has to say and how she runs the channel, and it's like this really like late night cult thing. Yeah, it's kind of like that. So I hope that helps. I hope that was like a rundown. Like maybe we should start with that next time with this. Like
Well,
the plot isn't that important. I think it's the
it's not.
descriptive
Yeah,
writing.
it's really not. There is a plot there. I'll just say if you're super focused on the plot, when you're done, you're gonna be real mad.
Yeah.
It's really not.
This was
It's really not
written.
the point of it. It's sort of like a scaffold that the other things are built on, but the
Yeah.
actual plot isn't the point of the book.
Yeah. So this was written. Oh, so no. So you wrote 1996. I saw that it was copyright 1997. So
Okay. Oh, mine says 96. I don't know exactly what the exact first publication date was.
yeah, you wrote the year of the politically correct. Um, so that would be more in the theme of the book. Oh yeah, like there's some language in here that's like kind of he says the N word constantly. The F
Yeah.
word.
Yeah.
The F word for me is faggot, so that's like the F word. He uses that freely, but he's using it from characters' perspectives, and that's the way people would speak, right? So
And he even makes a point of saying Don Gately, who's kind of our protagonist in the halfway house. There's a footnote that says he refers to blacks as N, and regrettably, he said. So he's like, he knows what he's doing. Like,
yeah,
this is an uneducated guy, and this is just how he thinks, and he's just kind of uses the footnote to say, yeah, I know, but we're trying to be in this character's head, so this is how he thinks.
mm, yeah. So I'm just flipping through and seeing like little highlights because there are like these one line things. So when that guy is like he doesn't want this guy to hug him, and the guy that's trying to hug him is an African American, and he's like, I'm more than happy to do an intricate multiple handed ethnic handshake with you. You don't hug me, and you just like oh my lord, that's just like funny lines.
Could you say a whiter thing?
Hmm?
Could he say a whiter thing to this guy?
Exactly. Another line, like they're sitting there praying, and the person next to them says, "I swear, I heard the person say, and lead us not into Penn Station." I mean, just these little lines that are so hilarious.
Yeah.
The logarithm of all suffering. Yeah, I'm just like, yeah, it's just kind of flipping. So, I guess we've come to the end of the discussion. I mean, I could keep flipping through until I find more. Oh, how about this? Like someone commits suicide by drinking this really caustic poison, and so the father runs in and sees him, and so he starts giving him mouth to mouth, and then he kills over from death, and because he's ingesting poison. And then someone else comes in and tries, and it's just like this string of deaths, and it takes out the entire family. It's like these really twisted little elements. It's like, so I guess the moral is, if you're going to commit suicide, like, think of other people first. It's very strange because there's a lot of suicide in this book, a lot.
Yeah.
Which
A
I mean, we shouldn't.
little sobering when that's what happened to him.
Let's see, how many pages did you read since the last one? I forgot. So we stopped at 140. We were supposed to make it to 150, but I didn't quite make it. So we stopped at 140, and then today's was 500. So we both got to page 508 because that's where the natural break was. So about 350 pages approximately. Well, you just wrote it in really simple terms, and I had to like explain the whole thing. I guess.
We're halfway there. How do you feel? We're halfway there. How do you feel?
I'm happy because I was able to get to page 500, and to me that was actually a monumental task, because I was really kind of feeling a little bit not depressed, but kind of like beating myself up because I had the time and I wasted it. And then all of a sudden I was like, I'm going to have to read 50 pages a day in order to make it. And I mean, that's bad. And so I need to like, from today, I need to make sure that I dip into this every single day and not just keep pushing it off and pushing it off. But see, the thing is, I've got a live stream next week and I've got to read a full book. I've got to watch a movie and I've got to read a comic book and I've got to listen to it. And I haven't started any of them yet. So, you know, that this week is going to be out because I'm going to be doing all of that. I got to read the book. But thankfully, it's a short book. But as soon as that's done, I'm jumping right in and I'm going to, but I'm very happy because this book, we're calling them books of intimidation. It's not that intimidating. I mean,
no,
yes, you're going to be lost. Half the time, I don't know which character is like how they're related. So there's a little bit of confusion. And like, I didn't know Joel's man psychosis and I kind of pieced together, but there's so many characters. And I tell myself, you know what, if you don't see all the connections, don't worry. You're just reading it to get through it this time. That's the way I'm looking at this.
Yeah, your mindset going into it really will determine how much you enjoy it or if you finish it. Yeah, if you're going in trying to figure it all out, you're gonna quit or you're gonna hate it. So it you kind of go in and experience it and take what you can out of it. If you don't understand why something's happening, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Which is a lot to ask for a book this long and that will take this long to read, but
yeah. And I'm just enjoying the descriptions and the one-liners. I mean, there's really a lot of beauty amongst when we're talking about this book, you're hearing all this darkness and like discussing, but there's a lot of beautiful description, even if it's of really dark things. The writing is good. But then again, you're going to get writing where there's like lists and there's all this just like, and so like I likened it to Moby Dick before, like that dude needed an editor. So Pieface, I really think you should read this book and like tell us your opinion. So if you could read like just the first 100 pages by the time we do this next, and I'd really like to know how realistic this feels, right? Since you've had these experiences. I don't have these experiences. Scott, were you ever like addicted to like drugs or anything? So it would be interesting to hear it from somebody's point of view, but then again, that might be dangerous because it's it might hit too close to home, right? Especially if you're saying that you knew a lot of people who committed suicide, and that could be like, bringing up really bad memories. Do I work? Yes, I do. I have a full-time job where I am a teacher, and I think that's how I got sick. I think you're being facetious, but yeah, I think those kids just gave me something this week.
Filthy bags of germs.
Yeah. So hey, we had an hour, so that's pretty good. How are you feeling? This is your second read, right? And you're being like
it's like my fourth.
Really?
Yeah. When I finished it the first time, I really liked it so much, but I missed a lot. So I was like, I'm gonna read this book every year. That was when I was reading way more. So I read it the next 2 years in a row, and then I kind of fell out of reading so much. So it's been, I don't know, 8 or so years since I've read it.
Yeah. Yeah, I always have lofty goals, and I never make them. Like my goal was to actually read this physically because I do a lot of audio, and my goal was just to sit and force myself to read. And I already broke that. It's too difficult. The phone is such a distraction for me. It's horrible. I thought I had it under control, but I don't.
That was my goal this time too, but I mean, it's a phone book, and you have two separate bookmarks in it. So when I go to work, I don't want to friggin' lug that thing around, and so I cheat and I use the Kindle, which is actually easier for the footnotes because you can just tap on them and go right to them instead of using different bookmarks and whatnot.
That's still reading though.
Yeah.
So, Pieface, you're not reaching me. I don't know who you're pranking, but
Oh, do we want to talk about how long were we on the phone drunk like a couple weeks ago?
Oh yeah. I was drunk after my live stream. You could watch it. I was drinking it, and I was like, I just started. I was drunk, so I started texting my friends, and I reeled one in who was also drunk. Or did you? Or were you? Did you text me? I don't know. But then we called each other on the phone, and we got into politics. I don't even remember it all. We were going on, and we spoke for at least an hour and a half. At least.
Was it okay?
It could have been 2 hours.
I was super drunk too. So.
And I was like, yeah, my husband was like, damn, you just needed to shut up. Oh, Lord. Okay, so do you want to set for okay, so for next time we do this, we're going to be done with this book. And so you want to set that date for like a month?
What is it now?
Longer.
We can set it for a month, 4 weeks.
Yeah. Tentatively, we'll set it for 4 weeks, a month, and then I was going to say something else. Oh, we also have to pick our next book to announce it at that. We already have a couple of ideas.
Yeah.
So we'll definitely pick the book for the next Intimidation.
Sounds good.
All right. So you stick around for just a minute or two, and I'm going to end it. Thank you, everybody, for joining in on the stream.
Thank you.